Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first Audible Farm podcast. It is Thursday, September 20th, and my name is Peter Stockdale. I will be your host. If you listen to the introductory episode, you already know that. This beginning part of the podcast is usually where I will talk about shows that I have coming up. I play in a couple of bands, and maybe I'll talk about them, maybe I won't. But, if anybody's listening on Thursday morning, I'm coming off the heels of a show with Unity. We opened up for Vicious Rumors at the Gas Lamp in Des Moines, Iowa, and it was a great show. Come check out our next show. My next show I am playing is Saturday, September 29th. I have a show with Three Finger Betty called Rounds-A-Palooza. We'll be playing at the Fremont. Otherwise, I have a show with Unity on October 6th at Gabe's in Iowa City. So check those shows out. There's more on those online on Facebook, I'm sure. So go ahead and check them out. My guest today has been a friend of mine for a long time. He's one of the reasons I started playing music, and he's one of the reasons I have such a deep appreciation for music nowadays. He played drums when we were growing up, and I chose to play guitar, so we meshed well. We played a lot together. We had a band together called Active Input when we were in high school, and he ended up filling in for the drummer that we had that left, and he was good enough to end up taking some positions in other bands after we graduated high school, and we're going to talk more about that here in the upcoming podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Clint Blomker.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
What's up, man? How's it going?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. So, I chose to sit down with you because, pretty much I just thought to myself, if I was going to sit down with anybody, it probably should be you. I ended up playing a lot of guitar with you when I was younger, and then I didn't play so much, and the only reason I'm playing now probably is because of you, because I started playing again, and you guys needed a guitarist in Three Finger Betty, and at the time you were the drummer, and you still are, so it ended up working out that way. But what else have you been in? Obviously, we were in a band together when we first grew up called Active Input, but after that, you ended up leaving town.
Yeah, I left Humboldt to join Dark Mirror at the end of 2008, I believe. And my girlfriend Kelsey had been going to UNI. It was her first semester there, where she met Marco Battaglia, the bass player for Dark Mirror. And basically became friends that way, and it wasn't long before I had come visit Waterloo, hang out with the guys, get to know them a little bit better, jam with them in the garage at their house that they had. And one thing led to another. Eventually, me and Kelsey moved to Waterloo to try to be more of a part of the band.
Who all was in the band at the time?
The band at the time was Alonzo Donoso on vocals, Marco on the bass, Eric Wicker on the guitar, and Wicker and Marco go back a long ways to when they were kids. They've known each other for a while.
I guess I didn't even know that, so that's pretty cool. Did they have a drummer at the time? Because Tim Cummins was their drummer, correct? Is that right?
Yeah, at the current time, Tim was the drummer for them, replacing their original guy, who was another dude that Marco and Wicker, I believe they met at college, but I'm not clear on that. But yeah, Tim was the guy who had been in the band for a while at that point, had recorded a full-length record with them.
Yeah, okay. So Tim was the guy on the first Dark Mirror album then.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I thought that was correct because you and I went to a Megadeth show in Milwaukee.
Yeah, at
And
the Eagles Club
yeah,
Brave
yeah,
joint. Yeah.
yeah. And they had like a stage in every bar, like every nook and cranny they could pack one. And Dark Mirror played on one of the stages at the Megadeth show, opening up for Megadeth on was it a Gigantour? Is that what we saw him on?
Man.
I want to say In This Moment was there. They had a chick lead singer.
Yeah, it very
Yeah,
well could have been Gigantour.
but yeah. So yeah, that was my first introduction to Dark Mirror. Was about that time frame. So was that about kind of when we're going there?
Yeah, that was pretty much that fall that we had met him. It was probably September or October was that Megadeth show.
Yeah. So when did you play your first show with Dark Mirror?
I had moved to join the band, but around that time, Wicker had decided to leave the band, and I think he went to L.A. for guitar school not long after that.
Sweet. What happened after that?
So we pretty much wrote out the 6-month lease we had at the apartment we were renting. Moved back to Humboldt after that. Wasn't sure what was going to happen, if anything was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then around probably middle of August, got the call from Marco saying that he'd gotten all of his UNI stuff taken care of and was moving back to Des Moines, where he was originally from, and was moving in with Nate Fetus.
Oh, nice.
Lead singer of Black Market Fetus, a well-known Des Moines band from back in the Dizzy, I suppose.
Yeah, I bet there's still a bunch of people that remember them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Shoot us a line on Twitter if you remember that. That's at Audible Farm on Twitter. But yeah, Marco moved in with Nate Fetus.
And then wasn't long after he moved in with him that he called me saying that he's trying to get members for Dark Mirror to do the thing again. And he was in the middle of looking for guitar players when he called me and said that he found a guy, and I went up there one weekend with my drums and jammed with one prospective guitar player that didn't work out too well at all.
Oh, yeah.
And went back the next weekend with my drums to try out a different guy, and that ended up being Dustin Cregan.
Oh yeah, I remember Dustin. I haven't seen him in a while, but yeah, I definitely remember seeing Dustin around playing a lot of Dark Mirror shows with you guys back in the day.
So it was in rather short order that I got the call, did the auditions, decided I had to move up there to do it, and gathered everything, and I was moved up there with Kelsey as well within a matter of like 2 or 3 weeks.
So you moved to Des Moines at this point in time?
Yeah, I moved into Nate Fetus's place with Marco.
Yeah, I remember hanging out there a couple times with you guys.
Yeah,
watching Pantera VHS and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was a cool place.
That was awesome. Yeah, because I remember. Oh man, we used to get Paul Revere's pizza and bring it over, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's good times. So, where was the first show you played with Dark Mirror? Do you remember that?
First show was probably not a week or two after we had, gotten that successful rehearsal with Dustin.
2-week turnover. Did you play the old songs that everybody had already written?
Yeah, we hadn't started any writing at that point because Marco had Dark Mirror booked on a metal festival in Indianapolis in like the second or third weekend of September.
Okay.
And I think our very first show as the new version of Dark Mirror was maybe a week or two before that.
Oh, Jesus. So, pretty much, we'll just say essentially your first show was playing at a festival in Indiana.
More or less,
Yeah.
yeah. The audition was at Vaudeville Muse
Jeez.
weekend before.
Oh, man. Oh man, Vaudeville Muse is such a great place. I remember going there seeing tons and tons and tons of bands when I was younger, and I hope that somehow like the lore of playing there is not lost on the younger generation. Though when I play there, they're not always present, but that doesn't mean they're not there watching shows.
That's true.
Yeah. So you played the show in Indianapolis. How did that all end up going down? Good overall.
Performance-wise, yeah, it was very solid. When we got there, we ran into a little bit of a roadblock because we had found out that the venue was kind of in a strip mall type of area,
Jesus.
and the building had a lot of space. There was a lot of space inside the building, but the fire department showed up at the last second, and the fire marshal declared that it wasn't fit to have a show. So they had to quickly scramble to rent an outdoor stage and all of the fixins to have an outdoor festival in the parking lot of said strip mall.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, go figure. Nothing's ever going to go the correct way for a music festival.
Definitely not. And there was supposed to be 2 stages, but they were only able to rent one mobile setup. So they had to throw together, I think it was essentially a flatbed truck for our second stage.
So the first stage, did they have like a nice stage set up for the first stage? Or
Yeah, it was something you'd see, at the state fair for like the free stage.
Oh heck yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good stage. So you guys are, I'm assuming, playing on the flatbed then.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
We were pretty high up on the on the card.
Oh jeez.
It was funny. Just during the whole confusion of scrambling around trying to figure out if there'd even be a second stage, Marco and the other bands that were supposed to be on the second stage had to chat with the promoter to see if getting the second stage thrown together was even possible.
So you go all the way to Indiana. Don't know if you were even going to play at this point in time.
No.
That sounds awesome.
Well, yeah, we figured. Yeah, we were under the impression that it was all going to be inside of that building, and everything, and then that the fire department wouldn't shut the thing down.
Yeah.
But yeah, managed to get the flatbed secured in a good spot, a PA on the thing, electricity, and the whole works, and managed to play our set at a decent hour to a decent crowd who dug it.
That's awesome. So the lineup at this point in time is you on drums, and then you got Marco on bass. Alonzo is the vocalist. You said Blitz was the guitarist.
Yep, Dustin Blitzkrieg.
I recall that being a lineup for you guys for quite a while.
It was, yeah. That's when the new lineup came together, so to speak. There was a demo called the Immortalized demo that Darkmere had that had 4 songs that were eventually on Portrait of Evil. And it was Tim Cummings who had the drums on those.
Sweet.
And I was given that, and I was given Visions of Pain when I, parted ways with Marco.
All right.
I just over that summer kept playing to the headphones with the record going in my oldest brother's old room in my mom's place.
Oh yeah, the old jam room.
Yeah.
Yeah, spent a lot of hours up there. About what time did let's see here. You became a 5-piece eventually, and who was the 5th member that joined?
It was. I don't think we tried anything.
Did you do
else.
Garen? Did Garen come in and do a 5-piece with you and Blitz?
Yeah, I believe Garen was the 5th guy. I'm not sure if we tried anyone else out before Garen, but yeah, he was the guy. But it was like a good couple of years before Garen had gotten a hold of us, because the new lineup came together and we had that demo.
Yeah.
We learned those 4 songs and wrote 4 other ones that were mostly just a bunch of Blitz's riffs that we as a band cobbled together and
All right. Yeah.
various song structures, and that's what Portrait of Evil became. And like Red Carpet and Oblivion were two of the notable ones. Karma, yeah, the Blitz material was some pretty good stuff.
Dude, that was killer. I actually just listened to the Visions of Pain album uh, on Spotify. I tracked it down, found it on there,
Nice.
and it was killer. Absolutely killer album. You guys did a second album after that.
Yeah, by the time we had Portrait of Evil in our hands, um, Alonzo had decided. Actually, it wasn't quite yet. Just Alonzo was gone. We had Garen in the band for a good year, so learning the new stuff and arranging the songs as two-piece, as well as starting the next record and writing all of our songs as like a two-guitar ensemble. And we had probably about half the record written before Alonzo decided to part ways with the band and start Unity.
So at the time Alonzo leaves the band, does this pretty much seem like a death blow to what's going on? I mean, Alonzo and Marco are the two only members. So now you're left with Marco, which Marco is not the singer. Alonzo's the singer, and most people tie bands to singers. It's just the way that a lot of time it works.
Yeah, that's we lost a lot of our like public relations kind of stuff when Alonzo left.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he brought a lot of stuff to the table that
Yeah.
I wouldn't say we took for granted. We just didn't realize
Didn't
we were
capitalize
missing
when
it
it was
till it
there.
was gone.
Exactly. Yeah, I can confirm that Alonzo is very good with PR. Yeah, he definitely keeps good tabs with people online. He's very active online. I will more than likely, I will more than likely get Alonzo in here to do an interview before too long. But yeah, so Alonzo and you guys part ways, and does Blitz stay with the band at this point in time?
Yep.
Okay.
Blitz and Garen were still doing the thing.
So you're a four-piece. Does Blitz do any of the singing, or do you try and pick up a new singer?
We were always on the lookout for a new singer, but in the final year, so when Alonzo was in the band, when we were writing Portrait of Evil, we found out that Blitz was a really good vocalist as well, and could do a lot of the high-pitched kind of falsetto stuff that Alonzo was also doing. So we could bust out harmonies and sort of like trade-offs on vocal parts, and we were messing around with that a little bit. So we already kind of had that as a possibility to have like Blitz be our lead singer. If we really couldn't find a guy, then we at least had someone to fill in.
Can confirm that Blitz is also a good singer. Some of the first videos I ever I had a phone back in the day, and the phone had the ability to record video, and the video, you could say that you were at a concert, and it would compress the audio so it didn't sound all junky. For the most part, I mean, it sounded really, really good. It didn't even matter how loud it was. So I had gone to a couple of your guys' shows and recorded some videos at some of your shows. And some of the crazy things was, I think one of the first shows I ever recorded of you guys was you guys with no singer. And Blitz did some of the singing. And I ended up digging them back up not too long ago. And I put them on the Audible Farm YouTube page. They're there somewhere. I know they are. But it has Blitz singing one of the songs for sure. And another one is just played without any vocals. I can't recall if it was an instrumental song or not.
Does that happen to be at the Eagles Club or at the
yeah,
Fort Dodge?
yeah,
the
second floor.
Yeah.
Yep. That was actually where it was at. That was an amazing show. The craziest part about that is if you watch it, it's probably the worst audio I have on YouTube of any band, but it is still very good compared to some other ones. But check it out and look at the light show and smoke show that is going on in this place. The insane part about this is you're playing to 10, 20 people. It's not very full bar. It's in Fort Dodge. It's a small town comparatively to Des Moines. And there was not a whole lot of publication going on. And it looks like you guys are playing to 1,000 or 2,000 people. It is insanity the way the video makes it look. It's one of the coolest videos I ever took. Yeah, I recall once talking about this with you, and you had told the sound guy, he's like, "You want some lights?"
Yeah, he was like, "So how do you want me to do this?" And I just told him to, full blast, turn it up to 11, make it look like a UFO landing.
And it totally does.
Yeah.
So we can confirm for sure that Blitz can sing. If you ever saw any of the shows with Dark Mirror and Blitz singing, you definitely know what we're talking about. But you did pick up a singer eventually.
Yeah, we pretty much most of the band was working at Gamers at the time, used video game store here in Des Moines. And one of the guys that started working there was Grimace, Adam Taylor.
Uh-huh.
And I want to say that Grimace started working at Gamers because he had previously worked with Marco at his UPS job.
All right, so had kind of known him from before and kind of got involved with you guys that way.
Yeah, and I'm sure Marco had planted the vocalist seed. And Grimace was a straight up Lamb of God style vocalist.
Yeah, direct change of pace from Alonzo's. Give me a quick analogy for Alonzo.
Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a giant switch between the two. I mean, we're talking like Bruce Dickinson / Merciful Fate goes to like Children of Bodom, Lamb of God levels. It's deep. It's deep. So you have a huge vocalist change. Does the music change that much?
No, we kept the songs exactly the same. We didn't down tune or anything
Respect.
to compensate or whatever word you want to put there. But since we were working with Blitz doing the falsetto vocals, we just had him keep doing the parts that he'd already written for himself, doing the falsetto, and then Grimace would come in with the growly stuff. So it was kind of had this 3 inches of blood kind of vibe to it.
The early days of 3 inches of blood. Yes. I want to say I even have a couple videos of you guys with Grimace in some of his first shows, maybe down in Ames, a couple of them, maybe one in Des Moines as well. But yes, they trade off every now and then, and sometimes when they sing together, you get this nice combination of the both of them.
Yeah,
That's pretty awesome. So where have you played at this point in time? So let's go up till Grimace joins the band. And you've had how many years of playing in Dark Mirror at this point? Just ballpark it. We think
3 to 5, I'd say.
3 to 5. So we're about 3 to 5 years deep. Where have you played at this point in time? Is there any like very memorable shows that you guys with Alonzo had gone and played at?
Notably opening for UFO.
UFO.
At what was that place called? People's Court.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I ended up not going to that show. Drastically regret the decision.
Another one was in Madison or Milwaukee, one of those two. It was actually at the Eagles Club. Yeah.
Okay.
Same joint, but it was a different part of the building.
All right.
We opened for Primal Fear.
Sweet.
And Havoc.
Jeez. Oh man, that would be pretty sweet.
And like next to nobody knew who Havoc was at the time.
Yeah, I that's me included. So, yeah, I mean that's definitely one of the things about playing music. Sometimes you don't know who you're running into until a few years later, or sometimes even 5 to 10 years later, and you think to yourself, "Wow, I wish I could go back in time and watch this again because I got to see something special, and I didn't take it in for what it was at the time." So, so there's definitely some of that goes on. Let's see here. I recall a story once about you guys going to a show to play a show, and on the way home you ended up at a Halloween concert.
Oh yeah, I want to say We did that on the way back home from
That
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis show?
Yes.
And that would be another instance where you guys had saw Halloween, and who opened up for Halloween?
Gamma Ray.
So Gamma Ray and Halloween are playing a show together, and for all the metalheads out there, you definitely know that that is a special, special show. And this is before I am aware of who even Halloween is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't there, but they tell me the story, and I'm like, okay. And I go check Halloween out, and I thought to myself, how have I not ever seen or heard of this before, you know?
Exactly.
But yeah, so totally, you guys ended up at like a handful of really cool shows, like either as a band coming back from shows, because that was always something I thought was kind of neat, or you ended up playing with bands that are some pretty amazing bands that I mean we still listen to today, or that we listened to growing up. So some of those shows are pretty awesome.
Yes.
Let's go into the next level of Dark Mirror here. So you have Grimace joins the band. You're a 5-piece still. What ends up going down there? You recorded an album as this 5-piece, I believe. Did you not?
Yeah, we got a full album written and recorded in 2012. I think is when we did the recording session.
Nice. Was that the one you recorded up in Otho?
No, we did a demo for that record. That was what we did in Otho.
All right. All
We
right.
did just the 4 songs we'd written so far. I think that's what we did not long after Grimace had joined the band, because we had the half of the new record that was supposed to be with Alonzo before he left. So we got in as soon as we could to do the demos for the new stuff with the new vocalist. And we were all into pre-Cowboys from Hell, Pantera at the time.
power metal type stuff.
Yeah. So we did. We picked out a cover of "Over and Out" from that record. Power metal.
Yeah. You guys ended up playing that at it was like a dime bag tribute show.
Yeah, there was people in Omaha that booked for several years after he died a dime tribute show, and we played I want to say 2 or 3 of them.
That's awesome. Yeah, I want to say there's video of that somewhere online. It might even be on the Dark Mirror YouTube page, but I don't want to say one of those shows for sure is online. If not, the people who put the show on might have even recorded it themselves. So
Yeah, like Over and Out, that was kind of a staple of our set for a long, long time. So it shouldn't be too difficult to scrounge up a version of it on the internet somewhere.
no, as a matter of fact, some of the first video I ever started editing, and I want to say it was the first video I uploaded on the YouTube channel, was considered Dark Mirror's last show, because I think to date it is still Dark Mirror's last show.
Yeah, down here in the basement.
Yep, we're actually in the location of Dark Mirror's last show right now, in the Dark Mirror house basement. And there's actually a version of Over and Out shot with footage from, I believe, either Kelsey's on the camera or somebody else's, and you recorded the audio for that, and I smashed them all together and edited it up and threw it on a video, and it came out darn good, and that's the whole show is definitely worth checking out. I mean it's top shelf for sure. But like I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. That's last show,
Yeah.
and that would have been about 2016 or 15.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One of those years.
I would assume 16.
I think it was the end of 2016, like September-ish.
Yes. Okay, so we still got like about a 4-year gap to fill in here. So you end up Grimace comes in. You guys cut an album somewhere around 2012.
Yeah, we did the demo in Otho, and then finished writing the record and got into Jeff Stone's place
Okay.
to get it started.
So Jeff Stone actually recorded that album. I did not know that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that was the first we had worked with him, because Garen had known him from being younger.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So I'm starting to see how a lot of the connections that even I have, how they're starting, they're forming out. Because I've met Jeff Stone even. So, and that's kind of how I'm assuming, since I met Jeff through you, that's actually how I know Jeff. So there's a weird social connection being made between all this stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. Garen brought a lot to freaking Dark Mirror. He, as a guitar player, is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
Very, Zach
wild.
Wild, very Dimebag, very fucking Chris Poland kind of stuff.
Yes, loves to use. It's so I don't know how to describe it, but his use of the whammy pedal is insane. He uses the whammy pedal sometimes like other people would use a wah pedal, but it's not like he's bending notes in weird fashions while he's soloing. He springs up to notes in fashions that are pretty cool, or he creates this mimic of sliding up the neck to hit the high notes while just using the whammy instead.
Yeah, doing a lot of like octave jumpy kind of stuff.
Yes, it's gnarly. I always shout out to Garen. I always loved your guitar style. It's
Yeah,
tons of fun.
but at the same time, he had like all this bluesiness. Like Allman Brothers is one of his jams, and he's fucking Elton John is one of his jams. So he's got that diverse background musically,
That
which is always a good thing to have.
Yeah, that definitely comes into play a lot more than people think it does. I know everybody likes to give each other crap for their like guilty pleasures, but that definitely comes in to help somebody out, especially with their instrumentalizing.
Yeah.
So you guys cut the album with Jeff Stone, and did you, as this 5-piece, you ended up going about four years, but there was a change in there.
Yes.
You ended up switching one guitarist.
Yeah, the way we recorded the album was instrument at a time, and I had gotten my drums, we got the bass, and we had started the guitars when Dustin decided to leave.
So Dustin leaves the band, and did you fill him in with somebody for this album, or did you record Garen double tracks?
We had debated all of the possibilities and tried finding different guitar players that could get the material up to good enough to record. We could never really find that person. We found Biggie, Edgar Alfaro.
Edgar.
He's a fucking badass, and he was just like green, I guess is all I could say. Just he'd been following us for years, and was into the badass music and learning the guitar, and he just like he was fucking awesome. Just inexperienced. And it was nice to be able to, provide a little bit of that. And he fucking grew like a weed when it came to his musical ability and his ability to just keep up.
Yeah, it was pretty fun seeing some of Edgar's first shows, and then you fast forward a couple years, and it's like, has Edgar been doing this for like 10 or 15 years?
Yeah.
Like, no, he's just been doing it for about 2 or 3 tops, but. It was pretty wild. Edgar ended up doing some shows with you in Speedrun as well, I believe.
Yes.
I recorded a live video of you guys playing. Is there one of you playing down? There's one of you recorded some of you guys playing down here in the basement.
Yeah. Every time we'd learn a new track, we made a point to get a good recording of it.
That's sweet. So Edgar comes in, and it's Edgar and Garen.
Yeah. By the time Edgar came into the fold, we had decided to have Garen just learn all of Blitz's old guitar parts, and maybe a few of the solos that he liked, but otherwise rebuild that second guitar part from scratch, more or less. So that kind of put a delay on the recording process.
So you're gonna bring in Edgar to record the album instead, is what you're telling me, I guess.
No. By the time we brought Edgar in, we'd already decided that Garen was gonna do the second guitar stuff.
So Garen's just gonna do all the guitar stuff.
Yeah.
And Edgar's gonna come in post post album and
Yeah, yeah. And since we had started to write a couple of songs with Edgar in the fold as we were trying to finish the recording on the songs we had
yeah,
written for years.
yeah. So you guys ended up as this was this the last 5-piece of Dark Mirror?
No. I want to say 2015-ish is when we played a show with the Ma, which Jeff Stone is the bassist of,
Yep.
and it was a Mario themed show
All right.
for the March 10th or what have you.
Okay.
And so we were tasked to learn a handful of video game tunes as Dark Mirror.
Oh dang. Okay, so did you guys end up doing video game tunes as Dark Mirror?
We did.
Holy crap. So who was on the lineup for that?
That's when Edgar was in the band
So-
with Garen and Marco and myself and Grimace.
Grimace. Okay. And you say that's not the last, or is that the last 5-piece? Did you guys end up switching any members after that?
There was another member after that. Like doing that video game set kind of inspired me and Edgar to do our own video game project and called it Speedrun. And we put out a Craigslist ad for guitar player and got a response rather quickly from Brent.
Brent.
Yeah.
I remember Brent. There's the videos that are on the Speedrun YouTube page have Brent in them, correct?
Yes.
Yes, Brent's the guy shredding on the, I think he had an EVH amp maybe.
Yep, and he
Yep.
played this wicked ass 8-string guitar.
Oh yeah.
So we're trying to look for a bass player eventually, but once this dude comes in with his 8-string, we figured he could take care of most of the low end.
Yeah, he could fill it out if he wanted to.
Yeah, and Edgar could do a lot of the higher end stuff.
That's pretty badass.
So then we started learning songs like that, and got into the recording studio, and around that time we needed a second guitar player for Dark Mirror, so we had brought Brent in for that for a spell.
And did Garen leave?
Nope. Garen was around until the end.
So at this point in time, you had 3 guitarists kind of in your midst.
I believe Edgar had decided to step away from Dark Mirror just because it was kind of like hectic at the time when it came to trying to write new songs.
Totally understood. So Brent joins and Edgar's out.
Yes.
And the last show that you guys ended up playing, Edgar came back.
Yep.
And played your guys' last show. If I recall correctly, was that kind of one of those things where you kind of asked him to do it and he was kind of unsure whether or not he wanted to? And then at the last, he was like, yeah, well, let's do this. And then it ended up being just totally awesome. Or was it something that you guys had planned out months and months and months in advance and were like, all right, we need to get...
I believe we had planned it out for Blitz to be the second guitar player.
Oh, man.
And that unfortunately never came to pass. But thankfully Edgar was there and still knew all the songs and could deliver the performance.
Yeah, it was that if you watch the video there's a handful of them on YouTube I think those are all on Audible Farm. I'm pretty sure that was the first show I ever edited and put up on Audible Farm. But if you watch it, it's like he never even left the band. I mean, it's stellar. Let's just go to like about that point in time. Dark Mirror's over, but you're doing an on again, off again cover band with your brother at the time, kind of filling in some of these years. Your brother was busy and you guys couldn't always meet up and do shows, but you guys had your own cover band that would do shows around the Ames and Des Moines and Fort Dodge areas.
Yeah, my brother had had a band going back to, when he was at Iowa Central in like 2005 or what have you.
Oh, geez.
Called Last in Line with his, best friend from high school and a couple dudes they met at Iowa Central. And that was the lineup for the longest time. And they had a pretty good drum player. And he, worked pretty well for him, but he ended up leaving for whatever reason. So I guess I got the call.
So you guys ended up playing a bunch of shows. What kind of stuff did you guys like to play? Because I know that your brother and you have much different musical influences than most.
Yeah, it's we play kind of maybe the heavier end, you could call it, of the hair metal spectrum.
So we're talking like Whitesnake.
Yeah, like the White Snake and Scorpions and,
Yeah.
and Quiet Riot and the Motley Crue and
Yeah. So the stuff that's the people that are frequenting bars, these are your jams, is what I'm saying.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. This is man, I could just about imagine people going nuts at those shows. So you're doing some stints with Last in Line, and you still currently are. When do you remember your first show with Last in Line? Do you remember when that was?
When exactly? Man, not exactly. I want to say maybe 2010.
So we're talking 2010 or so until now. So you're still in Last in Line, and Dark Mirror is about over. You kind of have the start of Speedrun, which is something you had talked about for a long time, doing video game plus metal equals awesome.
Yes.
So you're trying to do video game metal, and you ended up starting Speedrun. Doing how many shows did you do with Speedrun?
Only a handful, really. Did Kelsey's art show, Two Broke for the Arts Festival Fest.
And I believe that is also recorded. That was the first one of the first shows I ever recorded, and I edited that, and I think that you guys put that on your Speedrun channel.
Yeah.
Yep. So that one of those is like the Audible Farm rookie card of recordings. But so yeah, you played a bunch of those. You also played some festivals elsewhere.
Yeah. Also managed to before that we managed to open for Ex Mortis when they came to Des Moines,
Sweet.
which is some like neoclassical thrash, just like 100 miles an hour classical music on electric instruments. But after that, I managed to get Speedrun booked down in Austin, Texas, for Classic Game Fest,
Yeah.
which is the largest festival of its kind in the state of Texas. And was able to get on like an early slot on the Saturday. And
So is that like a Comic-Con thing, or is that only a concert?
oh, it's pretty much like a Comic-Con thing with
So-
vendors. And
So it's got all the old
speakers
video
and whatnot.
games and people selling games and buying games and get probably games set up to play.
yeah,
and-
different historical exhibits. Those are the best parts.
Oh my, that would be insane to look at.
And, like the rows and rows of like the evolution of the PC, like starting at like 1980, and they'd have like crates of old ass floppy disks. You could play whatever old ass game you wanted.
Oh man, I actually just threw away a bunch of old floppies. I used to play around with computers a bunch when I was younger. But yeah, I mean that's pretty awesome. So how many I think you did more than one show down there, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yeah, we did 2016 and 2017.
So you got 2 years under your belt down in Austin, Texas, with Speedrun. Still gonna be doing shows with Speedrun, or is that done for?
Well, Brent wasn't really in the fold for very long. He had to step away from doing music for whatever reasons. So that was kind of a short-lived thing as far as Speedrun was concerned. Like the second time we were at Classic Game Fest, the months leading up to it, I didn't have musicians. It was just me and Edgar. So I had to ask Marco from Dark Mirror to learn some of our material, because he had been busy with other things previously, which is why I hadn't asked him to be in the band before.
Yeah.
So I asked him to come into the fold, and it had turned out that his old buddy and ex-Dark Mirror member Eric Wicker lived down in Austin, and I was able to send him the guitar profiles that Edgar was using for his practice sessions.
That is tight.
Sent them down to Wicker for him to learn.
So it's almost like a mini Dark Mirror reunion.
Yeah, kinda.
Of like an inside-out proportions of some sort down
Yeah.
there. That's pretty awesome.
And Austin is a pretty cool place. Like, they had this building with a bunch of practice spaces that you could rent out by the hour. So we were able to get together the night before on like Friday and just jam through the set once or twice to make sure we had it. So it wasn't a complete surprise the next day. But
Alright.
yeah, we managed to pull it off, and it was a good performance. Then after that, I haven't really done anything speedrun wise since Classic Game Fest 2017.
All right, yeah, but that's still in the back of your mind, or is that something?
Oh yeah,
that's-
yeah.
all right.
It's always something I want to do.
All right.
It's
so-
just hard to find musicians that.
All right.
Yeah.
This is the first call out. If there's anybody out there that's listening in the Iowa area, if you like metal, you like video games, you like want to turn video games into metal, Clint's your guy. Find him, hit him up. Hit up us at Audible Farm. We'll put you in touch with each other or something. But we're running close to about an hour or so on this podcast, and we've got practice coming up for another band. So what bands are you currently in? Let's call them out here.
Bands I'm currently in. Started with Dark Mirror, did Speedrun. Last year I started with a band in St. Louis called Thorhammer.
Oh yeah.
Bunch of cool dudes that Dark Mirror knew from years back and had played shows with.
Still playing shows with them?
Yeah.
All right. So we got Thorhammers. You're still doing that stuff. What do you got next?
Also last year I started a project with Marco and Emery Smith. The two of them had worked at Wells Fargo together, I believe, and just from being friends there, decided to start a musical project, and it's called the Sleepover, and it's kind of I think Emery calls it like post-punk or post-rock indie. I'm not sure. I'm not a big
Yeah.
genre guy.
And that's also putting it in a pretty niche box of sorts to say, because I definitely have to say, even though some people describe their band as one way, someone else can listen to it and describe it in a completely different way anyways.
Yeah.
So you got Thorhammer, you got the Sleepover. What's next?
Just started in Unity, Alonzo's band.
All right, yeah. So Alonzo, after he left Dark Mirror, started Unity. It's come a long ways back full circle, and Clint is back with the band. I am actually also playing guitar in Unity at this time. We're going to get a little bit more into that probably in the next podcast I have with Clint. Let's see. So you got those three, and there's also the lady with three fingers, Three Finger Betty.
That's right.
Yep. So that was the first band I ended up playing in after, pretty much after high school. First band I played with since 2006. I played a show in 2017. Clint's the drummer of Three Finger Betty. John Waugh is the guitarist. Jeff Furch is the bassist. Those three brought me in. I think I talked a little bit about this in the intro. When did you join Three Finger Betty?
I want to say officially the beginning of 2016 is kind of like the cure for Dark Mirror not really doing much. Because the last couple of years of Dark Mirror, we played shows very, very sparingly. Aside from whenever we'd get a bunch of bands together to play in our basement.
Yeah.
Those were really the only times we played.
So if you're out there, go look up Unity, go look up Three Finger Betty, check out Speedrun, go check out Thorhammer from St. Louis, and I'm definitely going to continue this podcast again. We'll pick up somewhere around the after Unity got done with era, and we'll kind of go up until about the time you and I started playing music together and go until like the current era or whatever.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to get a hold of you, is there any easy way to get a hold of you? You don't use too much social media, I know.
I am on Facebook.
All
I
right.
don't use it too often, but I'll respond if I come across something to respond to.
All right. Look for him on Facebook. I believe his profile picture is of his cat Malice,
Yeah.
and that's about it. All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate you doing this first podcast with me.
Yeah.
Definitely wouldn't have done it with anybody else. So.
Yeah, bold experiment.
So it's much appreciated. Until the next one, because I know there's going to be one. So,
Oh, yeah.
So all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, we did it, everybody. There it is. We got about an hour under our belt. That's the first episode of the Audible Farm podcast. Thanks again to everybody out there for listening and inviting me into your ear holes for a little while. If you want to get a hold of me, go ahead and tweet Audible Farm on Twitter. We are also on Instagram at Audible Farm, and we are also on Facebook at Audible Farm. Go ahead and look for our YouTube channel by searching Audible Farm on YouTube. We will have podcasts as well as videos from some bands that we have video recorded over the last year or so. Thanks again to everybody out there listening. I will catch you next Thursday. Bye.